Through pain and fire, I came here to purge the unclean. I am the mailed fist of the Emperor. I am the end.
Warhammer 40K Inquisitor Martyr places the secret agents of the grim future into an action RPG and pits them against the various enemies of mankind. Your mission is to purge the Imperium of men from corruption, and to achieve this goal, you must fight. In this violent universe, battles are not only vicious and bloody, but they also feel as real as possible. Just like the fully destructible environments in the game, combat serves as a visually spectacular reminder that in this future, there is only war. Every bolter shot, every chainsword strike has an impact. Hits slow down enemies. Grenade blasts will send heretics flying. Opponents fall down and try to get back on their feet. Unholy armor shatters to pieces. Carnage ensues. In addition to all that, the more challenging fights just got some extra flavor. Aimed attacks at giant foes can destroy body parts, getting rid of special abilities. By shooting off a weapon arm, you can make sure that you're at least safe from the deadly fire. Take your time and hack those monsters apart, piece by piece. The game evokes a sense of brutal warfare where no one is safe. You can use that to your advantage when you're fighting the filth of chaos. From time to time, you'll face demons that simply don't care about their kin and gladly sacrifice their own in the crossfire. Violence begets violence, and sometimes you'll need to strike down as brutally as possible. Fatality is an integral part of the game, where each class can use special execution moves to finish off most creatures, and they all perish differently. Inquisitor Martyr is not for the faint-hearted. Inquisitors must wade into the thick of the battle where gushing blood spatters on the walls, spilled entrail stains the floor, severed limbs twitch among the fallen bodies. There are countless ways to dispose of the enemies of the mighty Imperium, and in this game, you'll have your chance to try them all. Incinerate your foes, cut them to pieces, blast them to smithereens, or use the elements of the environment against them. In this universe, you need to fight fire with fire, and for this reason, blood and gore plays an important part in Inquisitor Martyr. Welcome to the grim world of Warhammer 40K. Warhammer 40K Inquisitor Martyr is an action RPG which faithfully evokes the atmosphere of the grim 41st millennium. It's an intense experience focusing on a gameplay where the spectacular display of destruction recalls a sense of constant warfare. Take a look at your surroundings. Let the glorious carnage commence in the name of the Emperor and know that nothing can survive the devastation you are going to unleash. The new in-house developed Cortec engine combined with updated physics grants a welcome diversity in how different types of attacks affect the environment. The environment also has a significant role in the gameplay. Inquisitor Martyr is an action RPG with some fundamental improvements, and one of these new additions is the cover system, which grants a tactical layer to the game. Covers are fixed obstacles that provide a more realistic approach to the firefight. The first rule of the cover system is that both Inquisitors and their enemies can use certain objects to shield themselves from hostile attacks. Rule number 2. Since the cover is also part of the environment, it can be destroyed. Depending on their size, creatures can use obstacles to mitigate incoming damage. The type and the material will determine how much damage a cover can absorb. Most of the obstacles can be destroyed over time, but it also depends on the weapon of choice. Bolter ammunition will break down the barriers gradually, chipping away at the defences. On the other hand, plasguns disintegrate most covers with a couple of large blasts. Under relentless fire, even massive columns can collapse, burying friend or foe under the rubble. Destructible environment can be either a benefit or a hazard. Dangerous objects like pressurized containers can explode upon impact, which, in turn, will create a physical blowback effect. It is an effective way to cripple all of the creatures caught in the blast. All in all, destructible environment is one of the key elements in Inquisitor Martyr. There'll be some more to follow. Stay tuned for more videos, and welcome to the grim world of Warhammer 40K. Warhammer 40,000 Inquisitor Martyr is an open-world sandbox action RPG. In this video, we would like to introduce you to that vast sector where the agents of Warhammer 40,000 Inquisitor Martyr are going to hunt down the foes of humankind. This is our persistent open sandbox world, the Caligari sector on the fringes of Segmentum Tempestus. It's an ancient region far from the light of Astronomicon, filled with shadows that shelter heretical ideas and dangerous Xenos. It's also a sector plagued by vicious warp surges, unpredictable, small warp storms that can cut off whole systems from the Imperium for a very long time. And as a consequence, they will slowly slide into corruption and barbarism. In other words, it's an extremely important hunting ground for the Inquisition. Inquisitor Martyr starts in one of the subsectors, which is a rich and complex world to begin with, encompassing more than a dozen systems with huge numbers of planets and various points of interest. Since this is a persistent open world sandbox, the starting region will be expanded in due course, as we unlock new subsectors one after another. The expansion also sees the progress of the ongoing storyline in the sector, which you can personally influence along with other members of the community, turning the sandbox into a dynamically changing world. The growing open world offers hundreds of hours of gameplay. One of the most fundamental elements of the design was to make the game constantly entertaining and challenging, in order to avoid the boredom of grinding and revisiting the same environment. This is exactly why we combined the idea of the open world sandbox with the concept of the randomly generated missions. It all begins with the objectives. You'll see all the available missions on the star map. Most of the standalone missions come with random generated objectives, drawing from a long list of possible assignments. There are more than 50 different mission types, which will include all the various tasks that Inquisitors could do in this universe. Sometimes a mission gives you clues that could lead to a new assignment. There will be specifically tailored missions as well, written separately and tied together with the help of special clues, and they form the so-called Grand Investigations. Not to mention the most special investigation of all, the single-player campaign, set in an abandoned fortress monastery, also accessible from the star map. From time to time, we are going to launch so-called seasons, which are free content patches, each with a very strong central theme. A season will introduce new enemy types, new conflicts, new investigations that fill out the background of the season. Seasons will run for a certain amount of time, and then they will be resolved, depending on how the Inquisitors of the Caligari Conclave decide on certain matters. The Conclave is an assembly of power groups with various goals. Player Inquisitors can also form cabals that can have their differences from time to time, which leads to clashes in the shadow. Inquisitor Martyr is an action RPG, so when you go on a mission, you'll enter an ARPG map. Our main goal is to provide diversity in the open world and offer hundreds of hours of gameplay without the feeling of repetition. To achieve this goal, we set out to create missions as randomly generated ARPG maps using pre-fabricated segments. Imagine these segments like the separate floorboard tiles in a board game that has constantly changing boards, unique for each session. Each environmental setting has a large pool of available tiles, and they represent very typical Warhammer 40K environments. Standard Imperial indoor settings, fortress monasteries, Gothic void stations, research facilities, factories, forge worlds, spaceships, you name it. By picking out various tiles and assembling them randomly, we can make sure that you don't have to fight through the same map again and again. Apart from the tiles, all settings have props that make the map unique, ranging from machines to atmospheric set pieces. And of course your enemies will vary from map to map, as the different objectives require different foot soldiers and unique bosses. And these were just the indoor settings. You are also going to visit planets and moons, majestic or desolate landscapes, where the different terrain types and weather patterns give extra diversity to the gameplay. This is the vast open world sandbox of Warhammer 40K Inquisitor Martyr, where with the huge variety of maps, enemies and objectives, we set out to create an almost endless area with huge diversity. Welcome to the Caligari sector.
The universe is infinite and deadly. Beyond the veil lies only corruption. Far from the guiding light of the God Emperor, torn apart by the foul tempest that distort reality, the veil shreds open and madness gushes through. My sacred duty is to keep vigil here, in the darkness that hides tainted worlds and terrible secrets. I will purge the unclean and raise their nests. I will not hesitate to enter our once proud bastions, now sanctuaries of the wicked and the alien. This is a haven for the heretic and the corrupted. But I will cleanse the abandoned halls. I will face what's lurking among the shadows. I am an Inquisitor. I shall fear nothing, for I am what you fear.